This is part 4 of installing the Joe Henner Advanced Ignition Key on a 2021 SSR 300. So as you can see, I've got it all put back together. A part of my video got corrupt where I was removing the old key and putting in the new key, but it was very simple. The key is just a very small piece of metal and the old one just pops out. If it's snug, you can just gently use a flat blade screwdriver to pry it out, and then you just push the other one in its place, and then you just put everything back together the way you took it apart. The one thing that I found a little challenging was torquing down the flywheel bolt, just because you have to hold the flywheel at the same time that you're using your torque wrench to torque it down, and it's pretty tight. So you really should invest in a good flywheel holder. There's different types. That's the thing about this job. It's not super complicated, but you do need some specialized tools. You need a flywheel puller, you need an impact gun, most likely, to get that nut off of the flywheel while holding the flywheel with hopefully a flywheel puller. I used a leather belt, but you can get away with that if you have a good impact gun. But if you're using a wrench, it's much harder to hold the flywheel. So my thoughts on the key, the ignition key after riding the bike, is it did seem to have a slight bit more pep. I didn't notice as big of a difference as some people do. I think it affects every bike a little bit differently, just depending on what state of tune your bike is from the factory. They're all slightly different, even though they really shouldn't be, but they are. And then you have different elevations, and I think another thing is people's riding style. I tend to ride in the lower RPMs and kind of lug the bike, whereas I think some of the people who noticed larger gains tend to ride more in the higher rev range, or hold it wide open a lot more than I ever do. I don't necessarily ever hold it wide open. I think that's probably more indicative of people who ride on the motocross track. But if you're riding woods trails, you're not usually revving the bike out to its limit. So that may be why I don't notice as much of a difference. But it's cheap. It's $30 if you're confident that you can take your flywheel off and put it back on without damaging anything, and get it all back together properly. If I had to do it over again, knowing that it wasn't going to be that much of a boost, I personally probably wouldn't do it, just because I don't like opening up the motor if I don't have to. I feel like when you modify your bike, every time you modify your bike, there's a risk that you could cause damage or cause other issues. So, but that's just my personal opinion. Well, thanks for watching. There was 4 parts, so if you didn't see the other parts, go back and watch them. They're much more there's a lot more detail in the parts 1, 2, and 3. This is mostly just a summary and follow-up of me getting it back together and telling you my thoughts on how it worked. Thanks for watching. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe.